Okay, I'm so excited for today's topic, calming the vicious cycle of pubs and grants. Okay, hello everyone. I'm Kathy Mazak from Scholar's Voice, and today we're talking about something that is really difficult for many scholars, right? It's the hard truth that it feels like if we want to get grants, we need to have publications, but if we want to have publications, we need to have grants. And it's like this vicious cycle. And what can happen is that we get paralyzed. So today I want to talk about how you can move both publications and grants forward and how to kind of conceptualize what you're working on when, so that things happen in more of like a lovely seasonality, instead of feeling like I must do everything all at once. So this episode is brought to you by Navigate, the Writing Roadmap. That's our 12-week program for those of you out there who want to clear publication pipelines and definitely who want to publish that almost done article by the end of 12 weeks. And to really just do this little thing called change your career completely and make it completely sustainable by focusing on writing and publication. If you're listening live, then that means that applications are open and you can go to scholarsvoice.org/navigate, find the pink button that says apply now, and start our application process for our upcoming cohort, which starts August 14th and goes to the first week of November. It's 12 weeks. I'm going to link up a document in the description so that you can get all the information, including pricing, call times, curriculum, all of it. So check that out if you are not watching or listening live and we are closed for enrollment. When you find that pink button, it will say join the wait list. So you should do that and get into our next cohort. All right. So back to calming the vicious cycle of publications and grants. So it can be really frustrating as an, really, I was going to say as an early career scholar, but really anywhere you are in your career, to start the process of, publishing something, knowing that it needs a next level, the next research direction it needs to go. So you apply for grant funding. And you don't get that grant funding. And then you kind of feel stuck or stalled out. Opposite is also true. You get some funding, you collect a bunch of data, you don't get those publications out, and then you go to apply for more funding and you don't get that funding because you don't have the publications out. So what to do? All right. So first we need to think about our academic careers as playing a long game. Academic careers are very long term. And though some of you are probably in rather fast moving fields, some of you are in slower moving fields. And really, there are very few academic emergencies or anything that happens like so fast in academia, including like the turnaround time to get things published and to have your grants evaluated. So everybody needs to just take a deep breath and start to conceive of your career in terms of 5 to 10 year chunks. So if you think about like a 5-year chunk, within that 5 years, there probably should be or could be for you, depending on your goals, an emphasis on data collection. So let maybe back up. An emphasis on grant getting, an emphasis on data collection, an emphasis on writing up data, right? And there's probably other there's probably other things to emphasize as well. Maybe they are service related, maybe they're creating curriculum, maybe they are teaching related. There may be many other things, but since this is a video that's about pubs and grants, let's focus there. So you're not going to go through that cycle of apply, collect data, publish off the data, apply, collect data, publish off the data. You're not going to go through, most of you won't go through that cycle even once a semester. We need to think of the cycles kind of as longer. And I actually encourage people to think about them in terms of years rather than in terms of months or semesters. So that means that it's not that you are going to stop looking for and applying for grants, collecting data, or writing up your data for publication. You're not going to stop doing any one of those things at any moment. But rather, the metaphor for you to think of is like a DJ's mixing board or a sound editor's mixing board. And so if you can picture that mixing board, it has like a bunch of dials, right? And so each dial is an instrument or a track. And if you had all the dials equally high, it would just sound like a blasting wall of sound in like a bad way, right? What a sound editor does is, oh, we're going to have like a little more bass in this part of the track, and then we're going to take down, the guitar over here and whatever. You're mixing that, right? So using that metaphor, that's the metaphor you're going to use to guide you through the process of thinking about where am I focusing on in that cycle of pubs and grants? Am I in a season where I want to turn up the volume on just getting as many grants as I can, right? Like just applying for a whole bunch of things. Am I in a season where I maybe just got a big grant? And so what I really need to do is ramp up that grant. I need to spend my time and my energy, preparing to do the grant that I promised I would do and collect data, right? So it might be a data collection season and the volume is high. You turn up the volume on data collection, but that means you have to turn down the volume on other things. We turn down the volume on searching for grants maybe. Similarly with the writing up, now you have a bunch of data, and instead of just continuing to collect and not analyze, or even collect and analyze piles and piles of data and not write them up for publication and just keep getting grants, that eventually that cycle will break, because if you're not disseminating, you'll eventually stop getting awarded grants. So there needs to be a time where you turn the volume up on that pipeline clearing or getting those grants out in the world, getting those publications out in the world. And maybe you're turning down, it's not the season for grant writing. It's not the season for more data collection. It's the season for analysis and write-up. So that's the way I want you to think about this cycle of pubs and grants, right? Like one begets the other. But we can't be doing we can't be putting all of our effort at 100% into both getting publications out and getting grants. When you are farther along in your career, or when you have built a team or an institute or a center that has a team, a lab with a team, then you can start to kind of step into a leadership role where you have different members of your team potentially working on different parts of the grants and pubs cycle. But for right now, if you're having this problem where you're like sitting on tons of data and you're stuck because you haven't gotten your pubs out, but you need more grants to continue the research line, but you haven't gotten your pubs out, you need to think about employing this kind of soundboard metaphor, turning up the volume on some part of the grants and pubs cycle, turning it down on another one. Because what's happening is that if you don't take that perspective, if you don't think about seasonality, then you become paralyzed by trying to do everything all the time. And I'll just ask you, has that been effective? Is it effective for you to continue to think, I have to do everything all the time? Sometimes what happens there is you end up doing the buffet method, which is you take a little taste of each thing on the buffet of projects, but you're not eating the whole meal, it's like a little taste of each thing. And so things don't get all the way finished. And the way to get things all the way finished is to turn up the volume on some things and to turn down the volume on other things. And that means that you have to be okay with maybe letting a call for proposals go by if what you're doing is in the season of clearing pipeline and getting publications out. This is something, again, that you're managing projects over a long period of time, over a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, not over the next few months. And I think that's another thing that if we keep just like responding to calls for proposals without this like high level, bigger picture, longer term view, then you're gonna keep not being able to accomplish these bigger goals of having like a really well developed line of research that builds and that has, instead of a vicious cycle of pubs and grants, a beautiful cycle of pubs and grants where you have like, you know, your publications and your grants flowing in a rhythm that you orchestrate. Ooh, a lot of sound metaphors today. Okay, so how do you learn to do this? Well, in our Navigate program, we do an exercise that is called the Writing Roadmap. And as part of that exercise, you are deciding like, what is the season? Like, what is the focus of this year? What kind of writing needs to get done this year? And the program gives you that space and tools to think about how you are going to orchestrate this flow of high-level project management, high-level multiple project management, right? That is what you are doing when you are managing pubs and grants. You are working at a high level, a 30,000 foot view of interconnected and interdependent projects. That's like really high level project management skills that you need to develop. And in our program, that is where we start actually in Navigate. We start with the high level multi-project plan or view of things. The writing roadmap is your like long-term view. The publication pipeline is your high level multi-project writing view. And we kind of continue to narrow down in terms of project management skills from there. But the thing to keep in mind, no matter what, is that you can control this cycle of pubs and grants. But the way that you need to think about it is over a much longer term and really embrace this idea of seasonality. It's okay for it to be a certain season, right? It is right now the season of clearing the pipeline. It is the season of data analysis. It is the season of getting a grant off the ground. It is the season of applying for lots of different grants, okay? And becoming funded in a way that you can then turn the volume down on funding and turn the volume up on writing, for example. So keep those things in mind, embrace seasonality, understand that you are capable of orchestrating really long-term, high-level, complex project management as you develop your lines of research and manage that cycle of publications and grants. If you're interested in doing it along with us, apply for Navigate today at scholarsvoice.org/navigate. Click the pink button to apply. We are open for enrollment until August 4th if you're watching live, and we would love to work with you. All right, have a great day. Bye.